Right, let's see what happens. Now, it is a great honour to come here, and I bring you greetings from Scotland. And Scotland, my wife and I left Scotland last Wednesday when the temperature was 10 degrees. And that's warm for Scotland. So we've had a very warm day in Macao, and I'm looking forward to playing the piano for you. Now, if there's one thing that you've probably noticed, I don't have any music. So this is the part for the students. Where does the music come from? It comes from all the study which I've done, and I want to share a little bit of that with you. You see, I improvise, and that means that I just take some notes and I'll do anything with them. So let's just try something. I'm going to ask you to give me a note. Could you give me any note? Just tell me a note. Yeah, any note, from A to G. Yeah, okay. F. F, okay. Somebody give me another note. C. Another note?
D.
D. F, C, D. Okay. So I've got F, C, D, which sounds like this. Okay. F, C, D. Okay. What's your name?
Mine?
Yes, what's your name?
Pedro.
Pedro. What's your last name?
Morella.
Pedro Morello. That'll do. Okay. Okay, so I could take your name with those three notes. Pedro Morello. And if I was Bach, if I was in the time of Bach, which is 300 years ago, and I would have been playing a harpsichord, I would do a fugue on that. So for the benefit of the students, a fugue is a piece where, as I'm sure you will have been told, where the music comes in parts. And it starts in one key, an answer comes in another key. Normally I would play this on the organ, with my feet providing the bass part. But let's just see what happens if I play it. Would you like 3 or 4 parts?
3.
3, okay. Slow, medium, or fast?
Medium.
Medium, okay. Let's see what happens. F, C, D, F, F, bed, roll, and blah. This should be interesting. Now, I could also take Pedro's name there and make a completely different song out of it. But by just taking, see, it's the magic word is rhythm. And rhythm, I teach the students here in Hong Kong yesterday, the word for rhythm is groove. See, when you play music, you have to play with a groove. And the groove could be a Beethoven groove, a Bach groove, or a swing groove. But if you've got no groove, you should go and do the gardening and not play music. Right? It's all to do with groove. So let's do that with a swing groove. Pedro Gonzalez, and see what happens. All right. And I'm going to move the tune up and down through various keys, but you'll always hear Pedro Gonzalez. Pedro Gonzalez. Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2. It's all to do with groove. Now, many of you will have heard about the ABRSM, the Associated Board of the Royal Schools of Music. Now, they are a very grand, very honourable institution. And 20 years ago, they decided they wanted to have jazz as part of their studies, so you could examine jazz. And I remember going to a meeting. There I was with all these classical musicians sitting around a table, and this chap said to me, "Mr. Michael, how would you assess jazz?" And I said, "Man, it's all to do with swing. You gotta swing." And he said, "We can't say that in the Associated Board. Swing?" I said, "Well, okay, you've got to say, you've got to play with groove." To which he nearly had a heart attack. But eventually, word went round that that's the words, these are the words that we musicians use when we're on the bandstand and we talk about grooves. And so he said to me, "What do you mean by groove?" I said, "Well, Here's a Bach groove. Let's take your name, Pedro, and do it like this. Or we could do it with a Beethoven groove. Or a Mozart groove. Sort of groove. We can do it in my country like an eights and reel. So the groove is everything. And it took a little time, but I promise you, the Associated Board of the Royal Schools of Music eventually said, yeah, you're right. And the reason they said we were right, because so many children in Scotland play jazz as part of their musical education. It's not a case of they play just classical music or they play just jazz. They play both. And the result is they can hear what they're playing. They can hear it without looking at the music. Now I'm going to ask the music students, would you like to be able to play without the music? Please? Please? Yes? Would those of you who are mature in years like to be able to play without music?
Yes.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Well, I can show you how.
Okay.
It all starts with basics. Now, that was the fun bit. That was the fun bit where you get to play and you just make it up. All right. This is the bit you don't see when I'm at home. When I'm at home, my poor wife, who has joined me from Macao, this is Morag, my wife, Morag, lovely Scottish name. Round of applause for my wife here. And also tonight we have a very eminent musician from Macao who plays trombone with the Macao Orchestra. This is Christian, very eminent trombone player. Say hello. Everyone in the family is a musician, I tell you, everybody. So this is the bit you don't see. I practice, and this is how I practice. I take a scale, let's just take C, and I play it not like this. No good. No good, because I can't do much with that. I do it like this, over 9 notes, and down again, like this. Then I flatten the third, so I do all the minor positions. Okay, then I do C sharp. D all the way through. Now I do it slowly, with a metronome going click, 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 click. Then I do the arpeggios. Drive my wife crazy. She's sitting downstairs going, oh, oh. And then she's a singer. She starts doing the same singing, and it drives me crazy. So there's no, you can't get away from it. Now, that is the practice that everybody who's involved in jazz does. And you don't see it. But it's like in golf. There's a very famous golfer called Gary Player, they said of him, he said, he's a lucky golfer. He always wins. And he said, the more I practice, the luckier I get. So the more I practice, the better I am at improvising. You see? So that's the bit. Now everybody can improvise. It's just something that you practice. And when you play, when I play music, I have behind me, sitting here, I've got Beethoven, I've got Bach, I've got Duke Ellington, I've got Mozart, I've got John Coltrane, Louis Armstrong, Jimmy Shand, all the great musicians, and they're all in my head. And when I travel to work, wherever I am, they're in my head, they're in my ears with my iPhone. I listen to they are my best friends. So I've got Ella Fitzgerald in the car, or Billie Holiday, and I listen to them constantly, and I try and copy. That's the first thing that you do. So let me show you how this works. I'm going to play a tune. Do any of you know this tune? That's called Autumn Leaves. Okay, so when I was a music student, I was playing a piece by Bach called Saraband in A minor. And the Bach piece starts like this. Now, when I played that, I thought, what's that second chord? It's beautiful. I can't explain why, but listen to it. This one. And I think that chord, I worked it out, is a D minor chord with a 7th and a 9th. Ah. And then I think to myself, now Autumn Leaves, that's the second chord in Autumn Leaves. So if I play Bach's chord as the second chord, it's going to sound pretty good. So I'll try it. You try it, you see? See if it works. Yeah, instead of boring. And then I can do it again. James Bond. I can repeat it. A bit of Duke Ellington. A bit of Bach. Is how jazz musicians learn. So when we play, it's like all these people sitting here are affecting how I hear. And when I was talking to Professor Poon a few minutes ago, I asked her, who are your favorite composers? And she said, Ravel. I said, Ravel? Oh man, I love Ravel. If I play Autumn Leaves in the style of Ravel, I would use Ravel's chords because A lovely piece by Ravel is the Pavane. This chord. Okay, I'll play that chord in Autumn Leaves. Is that they were all individuals and they all learned not out of a book, they learned through hearing. And when I was a little boy growing up in Scotland, the music which I heard was Scottish dance music. The Scottish dance music should make you want to tap your feet, all right? So I'm looking at your feet. Now if I don't get your feet tapping, I'm not playing this right. Alright, so I'm going to look at your feet in the front row. Alright. Now let's see if I can get your feet tapped. Alright. Did it make you want to dance? Did it? All right, see, my challenge is that music should make you want to dance because music is a physical thing, right? So in Scotland, we have 4 grandchildren and the 2 oldest ones are 5 and 3, Cameron and Jamie. So when they come to play with Grandpa and Granny, I sit them on my knee and I give them a music lesson. 5 and 3. And they don't get anything to eat until they can tell me the key I'm playing in. Or when I modulate, to which key I have modulated. No, I'm only kidding. I'm only kidding, right? That's a joke, right? Right? It's all right, it's okay. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. Be assured. But what we do is, I play nursery rhymes in a jazz style to get them excited. Right? So I play, do you all know this tune? So we play that. I have one grandson on this knee and the other on this knee. And my daughter is saying, Dad, it's sleepy time soon. Don't get them excited. Please, Dad, don't get them excited. I'll say something like that. Are you feeling sleepy? Are you feeling sleepy? Whoa! This is a pedal point, kids. Push chords. 5, 5. Let's go to A flat. Now. payback time. All parents know what I mean. Exactly. And it's great fun, I tell you. But what's interesting is when I see the reaction of the children to the music. They get so excited, and I know they do. I do a lot of workshops in Scotland for very young children, and I get a very simple brief, which is not devise a learning program which will initiate the children into the mysteries of music through using chromatic and diatonic harmony with a strong rhythmical. It's none of that. It's nothing to do with that. I get a message saying, Richard, go into the school and get the kids excited about music. Great. Great. That's all I need. And in one school, which is just not far out of Aberdeen, which is in the northeast of Scotland, I went into one day and the snow is outside and it's freezing cold and we think the kids are going to get sent home because of the bad weather. And I wondered, what will I do? I started playing Fats Waller. I started playing this music to them. That all 30 children are running around the room and they're so excited. And I stopped playing and the teacher said, no, keep playing. So I carried on another Fats Waller piece and I stopped and the teacher said, no, keep playing. Half an hour, 30 minutes, I stood there and played Fats Waller. I was exhausted. And these kids they were almost out on the roof. They were so excited. So I had to stop. And I said to them, what is it about this music that you like? And this little boy, 7 years old, said, it makes me happy. Right. So that's why we do music. It's not a dry subject. It's an alive subject that comes alive when you can make music yourselves. Now, it's important to be able to read music. I do that. I passed the music exams. Took me a while, because I was playing too much jazz, but I passed the music exams in a time when, in Scotland, when I was a music student in the late 60s in Glasgow, I was very nearly expelled. Very nearly expelled. This would never happen to nice folk like yourselves. I'm sure this would never happen here. I was nearly expelled not for being drunk or drugs or being late. Far worse than that, I was playing jazz. And that was seen as really bad. I now go back and lecture on jazz at the same conservatoire. See, so times have changed. And it's really important that, well, it's taken Scotland a while, but in my country, jazz is now seen as part of a student's development. And we have so many good young musicians coming through who play jazz and classical music. It's a case of they play music. All right? Because it's a really bad thing to put music in a box and say, that's classical, that's jazz, that's rock, that's folk. No, I don't think like that. I think that it's all music. And it could be Latin music. You have your own folk music, which you should be very proud of. Last year I was in Cyprus, and I ended up having a session with local musicians playing Cypriot music. And I thought it was great because, again, it's all to do with folk music. Now, you guys could do it. Hands up all those who play the piano. Come on, let me see. Everybody in here, who plays the piano? Put your hand up if you play. Hey, come on. You guys are shy. Put your hand up if you play the piano. Let me see. Okay. All right. I'll show you how it works. Can you do this with your left hand? With your left hand, can you do that? Okay. Now that's one shape. Here's the second shape. Right? And back to the first. Now that shape is the most important shape that we use in jazz music. And I'll show you why. Because Vivaldi, I'm sure you've all heard of Vivaldi, wrote many pieces, all of which have got this chord sequence going through, which is called 2, 5, 1. And the 2, you finger like that, D and C, just try this, pretend it's on your arm, right? And the 5 chord is G and B. And the 1 is C and B. That's it. Now over that, you can play an improvisation using the white notes on the keyboard. Look. Like Vivaldi. But it can change key. Basic shape. 7th, 3rd, 7th. 7th, 3rd, 7th. So if I played a Christmas carol that I've heard played in all the shopping centres like this, that's it. All you have to do is then move it around the piano, changing key. Now, all that is on the website, which some of you might be interested in having a go at. I've seen him before. I can't play any louder than that, but
in order to make the best use out of this course, it would help if you could use it a little bit, and also if you can understand the basic chord instructions, such as the 4 basic tense chords of major 7, minor 7, dominant 7, half diminished. But please don't worry if you don't understand it fully, because by the time you finish this course, I promise you will. In this first lesson, I'm going to show you how using a simple scale.
Now we're all going to do a little scale together.
And a simple 2-note voicing using 3 chords on the left hand.
Which we've just done.
Combine the 2 to play your first jazz solo, which will lead on from this to this. So let's get started. Lesson 1, scales and chords. C, F. In this lesson, I'm going to show you how to play a simple solo using just chords over 2/5 sequence. Let's begin with the scale.
Okay, pretend you're playing a piano. Just follow the video. It's that simple.
Play just with a swing. I'll demonstrate the difference.
Straight as this.
You'll see every note played even if it wasn't
show you just now what we mean by swing feel. It's very simple. Let's do it away from the piano. I'm going to ask you, put your right hand on your tummy, like this. Right? Very simple. Put your left hand there. Now to play with a jazz feel, we're going to do four strokes on your tummy and then count 4 silent beats like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Rest, 2, 3. Then we're going to do a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 1, 2, 3. Try it with me. Go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Rest, 2, 3. Then tummy hand. Ba, ba, ba. Good. 2, 3. On your tummy. Go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Rest. 2, 3, 4. On your tummy. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it. And that's all it is. Now that is the swing feel. And I'll show you. I'll play the piano with the lid shut. Right. Here's a classical scale, and you can actually hear it on the piano. This is to do with articulation, with a fine C. Got it. Okay, here's a classical feel, and you can hear this if you listen very carefully. I'll do it again. I made a mistake. Here's the jazz feel. Straight. Swing. And what I'm doing is I'm pressing down the notes to give me that jazz feel. Scales, you get into a groove. So I can play any scale. Give me a key, anybody? A key?
D.
D. Okay, let's do D. I'm just going to improvise using D. If I want to change key, give me another key. B. B. Here we go, B. Key, minor key. Another key, another minor one. Do a house together. And 10. That, when you can do that, and I teach children how to play that on saxophones by pulling my shirt tight and say to them, watch my diaphragm. Classical phrasing would be, I demonstrate it on the flute, which I play very badly. I would go, do, do-wah, 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 do. But with the jazz feel, I push with my diaphragm to get do wah 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 do. That gives it, and it's as simple as that. So I have a whole section in Scotland of 9, 10, 11-year-old children that come to Cowdenbeath, where I work, where I teach jazz on a Thursday night, with their instruments, and these little kids go do da do da do da do da do da, and they really get the beat, they get the feel. And that's how I teach it, from the bottom upwards. And they go and play in the symphony orchestras when they get a bit older. And when they're playing, they're hearing what the trombones are doing, what the trumpets are doing, and able to pitch their notes against them because they can hear it, because they've learned how harmony works. It's that simple. It really is. Now, I'm going to just pause for a moment, give you a lot of information. Have you got any questions you'd like to ask me? Anything at all about the music? Anything. Don't wait till I get on the ferry to go back to Hong Kong tonight. Just ask now. Yeah?
I have one question, but it's not about music.
Go ahead.
Can I do it?
Yes?
You're talking about improvisation.
Yeah.
The art of improvisation. I suppose that you use it a lot in music.
Yes.
And I like to use it in architecture.
Right.
And I would like to ask you do you use this technique also in your life?
Yes.
Or other things, other activities, other tasks? Or not?
I drive my wife crazy because my wife's sitting in front of you. Yes, it's like a life skill, learning to improvise. If you can improvise, if you can say speech without having to write it down, you can hear what you say in your head. I cannot see why music should be any different. And architecture is really important because music works from the bottom up. It works from the base. And I can take, okay, my structure is this. Now over that, my thumbs play harmony. So here's the bass with these fingers, right? Here's the thumbs playing the harmony. Here's the little finger playing the melody. Now the bass can take off. That's how it works. I've got a great job in Scotland. I work for the BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation. I also work for Yamaha, by the way. I'm Yamaha's education expert in the UK, and I do a lot of workshops for Yamaha up and down the country. And you can see videos of me on the Yamaha. If you go to the Yamaha Jazz Experience, I'm on there doing workshops. But at the BBC, I work in a program called the Jazz House, and every 2 weeks, I analyze a famous solo by a famous jazz musician. So I've done Miles Davis, Louis Armstrong, John Coltrane, Louis Armstrong, Coleman Hawkins, all the greats. And every time I study a great solo, I become even more the student, right? I'm always going to be a student. In fact, I should be sitting there because I'm a student and I'm always learning. And when I listen to the greats, they're even better every time I hear them. Every time I listen to Bach cantatas, they just blow me away, the invention that's in there. Through studying it, you learn so much because it's all there. You know, You guys have got so much time ahead of you to study, and you're fortunate you've got a great teacher here who can help you to do that. I would like to think that you could learn to improvise a little bit to help you to understand more of what Professor Poon is doing with you, because that's how it works. And I had one chap who said to me, you know, he said, I came on your course and I nearly ended up in jail. Dear me, he said, why was that? He said, well, I've been on your jazz course and I heard you talking about guide tones, which are the tones you play with your thumbs, like this. These guide tones. And he said, I was driving home and all of a sudden I heard them. And I went right through a red light. And I had a police car coming after me saying, what are you doing? He said, I've just been at Richard Michael's jazz course and now I know what a guide tone is. And he very nearly ended up in jail. But he suddenly heard it. And it's that pleasure that awaits you all your musical life of suddenly thinking, yes, now I understand. See, it doesn't happen. My friends, you know, say to me, a professor of jazz, come on, come on. But jazz is taken very seriously. But it doesn't mean to say when you get that exalted title that you stop learning. If anything, you start learning more. And that's what's always excited me about music. And I thought if I didn't learn anymore, I'd stop. I would then take up gardening, which my wife does. All right. So learning, it's a live thing. Now, come on you guys, ask me some questions. Anything. Yes?
You were talking about the people who were sitting behind you, that chair over there. Are they only the greats, or do you also listen to contemporary music, like maybe hip-hop and things like that?
Yeah.
Improvise with them?
Sure, I do. And the thing is, if you're a musician, you have to be aware of what's going on in the streets. And I used to be a classroom teacher, teaching at a school with many children who were not always terribly interested in music. That was just like a normal school. And teaching in a university now, it is quite different from my previous life. But I used to amuse the children. I had this joke that I would play every year, which is this. Children would come into my classroom for the first time, and they would look up, and there's about 12 or 13, and I would have an electric guitar on the desk, and the children would say, "Oh, Mr. Michael, can you play the guitar?" And I would go, "I don't know." And I'd pick up the guitar and I'd turn it towards me, so the strings are facing me, and the kids would go, and I said, "Oh, sorry." And I would turn it round the other way, but the strings are still towards me. And the kids are going, "What have we got here?" I say, wait a minute, I've got it. And I would take the lead, and I would say, "Do I plug this into the mains?" And they would go, "No, sir, you'll electrocute yourself. You put it into the amplifiers." I get it. So I'll try it again, children. I wish I had the guitar here to show you. So I would plug it into the mains. I'd pick up the guitar, and you see, I used to do this when I was a teenager. I would go, play all the Chuck Berry licks, you see, and the kids would go, and I would go, "Oh, I can play the guitar. Next week, I'll show you how to play the flute. You blow in here, and you put your fingers there. The week after, we'll do the trombone. You just move this thing out there." And the kids would go, but it kept me amused. And it did. It's actually, when I see these children now as adults, they all said to me, do you remember when you fooled us? You did that thing about the guitar. So it does pay to be listening all the time, because my influences as a teenager was pop music. It was rock and roll. But see, rock and roll could be a good, look, how much fun is it to play this? And what I couldn't figure out was when I went for classical lessons, somehow all the joy went out of it with some of the teachers that I had. And yet with other teachers teaching me classical music, they brought it alive. So it's very important. I learned so much, sometimes about being taught badly. Because I thought, if I become a teacher, I'm not going to teach like that. It's all part of the learning. Very important. Students, anything, come on. What are you going to go home tonight thinking? Who was this mad guy from Scotland that came in here, ruined our piano? Yeah?
Will you be able to give us some advice if our student want to start being a jazz pianist?
Yes,
How will
okay.
they start?
Does anybody here, who's a piano player here? Who plays the piano? Okay, would you like to come up to the piano with me for a moment? Round of applause for my friend. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. What is your name? Anna. I'm very pleased to meet you, Anna. Okay. Now, do you mind sharing a piano stool with me? Many would, but you would. Thank you very much. Right. Now, Anna, have you played any jazz before? Okay. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to work just on the black keys. Now, I'm going to play something, and when I stop, I want you to play just using the black notes, whatever comes into your head.
Well, I used to improvise a lot, but not jazz.
Okay. Well, let's just try this with the black note, right? Okay. Are you ready? Now, just listen when I play first. Okay. I'm going to play you a question. You give me an answer. Here it comes. Listen. Give me an answer. Questions. This is the Richard Michaels show, coming tonight from Macau, and it's my guest here. How was that for you? Did you enjoy that?
Yeah.
Now, did you do anything different there? Did you play anything different?
Yeah, I can play very different.
You played very different. Was this good?
Both are good.
Both are good.
Although, this is not me.
Okay, now I'm
But
gonna.
I enjoy it.
Good. Okay, it's not your, well, okay, what I want you to do is, you play your personality, and then I would like to play with you, whatever you play. Shall we do that? Yeah, you play.
I can improvise on a Chinese theme and then...
Yeah, I've never improvised on a Chinese theme, so this would be great fun for me. Sadly, I'm coming to the end of the hour which I'm playing music for you. But again, I asked the students, is there anything you'd like to ask me? Because that's what I enjoy, something different, something that I haven't done before, and it gives me a chance to play. No questions?
Yeah.
Yes.
How difficult is it for comedians like Les Dawson to play out of tune?
Right, Les Dawson was a very funny English comedian who played the piano always with occasional wrong note. And it's not difficult, I can tell you. It's just, you just put it in when people are not expecting it. See? You play something that everybody knows, like okay, so it's not that difficult, but it can sound very funny. Sometimes I used to play a lot in hotels, and to see if anybody was listening, I would occasionally play a wrong note, and nobody would make, and then I would play another one, and I end up playing nothing but wrong notes. Is anybody listening? Stop drinking, I'm here. And it was struck me as always just being very funny. I would try to do it just to see how far I could push the boundaries. But I would like to finish by playing music. That was lovely hearing music from China. But I'm going to play music from my country, from our country, which is Scotland. And have you all heard of the great poet Robert Burns? No? Yes, some of you have. Got a CD at hand. Robert Burns was one of Scotland's, well, he was Scotland's greatest poet. And we, as children at school, we had to learn the poetry of Burns. The poetry is very powerful. It teaches about humanity, how important it is for man to respect man. And recently I recorded some of the music of Burns. And I'm going to play some of these. I'm going to play the most incredible, beautiful love song just now. And then I'm going to play some of Burns' faster music, finishing with a tune that we always play at Scotland when we come to the end of a performance or the end of a year. Now, I would like to thank you for listening to what I've been saying today. I can promise you that jazz is good for you. So and when I'm working in Scotland with little children, I say to them, do you think I enjoy what I do? Do you think I enjoy what I do? How do you know? Right. Are you like that in class? Do you smile in class?
Yes.
Good. Good. I can see you do. Because if you do, you make life better for the person sitting next to you. There's nothing worse for a musician than to go into a class. Give me joy. And it's like that. It's no good. It's no good. That's why we musicians, we feed off each other. So we have some of these CDs which are available from Morag. We'll give you a knockdown price in Hong Kong dollars. But have a go at the website. And we have business cards. If you'd like some cards that have got details, please take them from my wife and she'll give you all the information. I was asked by somebody, did I have the music for any of these? And I said, the music's here, and it's here. Because you can't, when you play, it's different every time. So what I'm going to play you just now, music that's on the CD, it sounds different because this was the first time I played this wonderful piano, Pearl River. I've never heard of this piano until Professor Poon says that this is a Chinese piano. It's fabulous. I would like to take this on the ferry tonight to Hong Kong and then get it on the aeroplane on Friday night back to London and then up to Scotland. I really like this piano. So here's some of the music of Robert Burns. And the first piece is My Love is Like a Red, Red Rose, the most beautiful love song ever written. And in this piano, there's a little range of notes from here to here that, to me, sing beautifully.